Hello everyone, welcome back to another Mr. Pat's 31 Days of Halloween. I didn't get a chance to give you a proper introduction last time. That's because Hurricane Ian was here and I didn't want to chance it and I didn't even know if I'd have power. So for today's movie, let's talk about a genre that I'm not too big a fan of. I don't really watch the Netflix documentaries of the serial killers, but I've just been hearing so much about this one and it's even been called the most controversial film of all time. So let's talk about Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. The movie is semi-based off the exploits of a real serial killer named Henry Lee Lucas. When he was arrested, Henry said he murdered more than 600 people from 1975 to 1983, saying it was about a person a week. But the vast majority of those claims were a lie. Police, desperate to get some cold cases knocked off their files, would offer him better conditions if he confessed, and Henry, thinking it was a good deal with none to lose, complied. With each confession, his fame would grow. He was eventually convicted of 11 murders, well short of the 600 he claimed. One thing this movie has going for it is it's very unique. I've seen so many slashers, and despite this coming out in the 80s, and despite all the fanfare it gets, there isn't a movie like it. For one, it's extremely low budget, and that's actually one of the better aspects of the movie. It opens very effectively, showing bodies long after Henry had killed and dumped them. You don't see the act of how they died, but as the camera pans through the remains, you hear their struggle and the screams right before they die. It's a really chilling open that is somehow made better and more disturbing without actually seeing the violence. Henry is played wonderfully by Michael Rooker from Guardians of the Galaxy, The Walking Dead, or as I know him, from Cliffhanger. Henry is a drifter that lives with an old prison friend named Otis. Things get complicated when Otis' sister Becky comes to live with them, and she develops feelings for the man at the same time Otis starts gleefully joining in on Henry's murders. That's the movie in a nutshell. A lot of serial killer movies like American Psycho, Natural Born Killers, or Devil's Rejects really revel in the bloody violence. But this one is a lot more subdued, and it's more disturbing because of it. There's a scene I can't get out of my head that's just so unbelievably sad. Otis and Henry are filming the murder of a husband and wife when their son comes in. Henry drops the camera and the son and Henry fight. While they're rolling around on the ground, Henry eventually kills him right in front of his helpless mother, and it really messes you up. Then the camera pulls out, and you realize Henry and Otis are actually watching the tape of the murder from their couch. While they're both working together, the two men are very different about how they go about it. Henry is quiet and contemplative. Murder is just who he is and what he does. He even casually discusses how he's been able to get away with it for so long while eating a hamburger. Otis, on the other hand, takes joy and satisfaction in what they're doing. Henry also has, I guess, some type of moral code. He detests sexual violence, and he and Otis eventually dissolve their partnership over it. The movie doesn't get talked about much, but it's really good. Michael Rooker is great because you watch him, and every single interaction he has with a person, you wonder if that's going to be his latest victim. Even the most mundane interactions can turn deadly, and some of them are wonderfully tense, because you have no idea what's going to happen. Another thing I noticed that I really liked, there isn't a single policeman in this movie. It takes place in Chicago without any appearances of any authority figures. It takes away the safety blanket the audience has. Henry operates with impunity because there's no one to stop him, and it adds to the unease of the movie. Then there's the ending. It's just sad for everyone involved in a way that I didn't think was possible. I don't want to get too deep into it, but you can see it coming from the beginning. Even so, it's a gut punch to see play out. It was seemingly his last chance, but Henry just can't change who he is. As for Becky, maybe it was for the best, but it's still sad and probably the best way the movie could have ended. It's not the ultra-disturbing schlock I've seen it described it as, but it's still not an easy watch. Outside of the murders, Otis is just a nasty character. He takes part in necrophilia, incest, and rape, all of those putting him at odds with Henry. What's truly frightening about this movie is that Henry and Otis feel like real people that you could pass by in the street and not think anything about it until they end up following you home. Rooker especially gives an understatedly chilling performance as Henry. One last thing I gotta talk about. This movie is one of the best lines I've heard in a film in quite a while. Overwhelmed that Becky started kissing him and Otis walking in on them, Henry goes out to buy some cigarettes. Being that this movie takes place in Chicago, the store clerk asks him, "How about those bears?" To which Henry replies, "Fuck the bears." Well said, Henry. 7.5 Dr. Chainsaws.